back to our videos. I'm not quite sure where this one's going to fit in the series, but I wanted to introduce you to some accessories that are being produced by a man named Ron Brown that makes setting up your tools and sharpening perhaps easier for you. And I compared his settings to the things I've been using traditionally for a long time, and they are almost identical. So close that I'm going to adjust mine to match his fixtures so I can take my grinds any place in the world and set it up. It's based on using the one-way Varigrind system. This is the Varigrind 1 and with the Wolverine system. And we are going to reset this according to his fixtures. He has 3 different fixtures, and I'm going to show you all 3. The third one is absolutely unique. This is for doing spindle gouges and for doing detail gouges, both done with the same fixture. So let me show you how this works, and then I'll take you through how to change from standard spindle gouge or shallow fluted gouge to the detail gouge. So here's the fixture, here's my Varigrind, nothing is set. So the first thing I need to do is to go to the grinder and set the length of the arm appropriately. So the way I do that, I use this fixture, I put it in my Varigrind, unscrew it enough it'll go in, and lock it down. And it says for spindle gouges I need to set this arm at the second notch. So the second notch, there's 1, there's the second notch, and I'm going to lock it down. Now with the angle set here, I'm going to go to my V arm and bring it up until it just touches the wheel on both of these points and lock it. The setup is done. I'm going to take this out. It's done its job. And for spindle gouges, they stick through 2 inches, so I have a little stop to check that. I'll insert my gouge. Set the projection for 2 inches, which is what he recommends. There's my 2 inches. And I'm ready to sharpen my shallow fluted or spindle gouge. Now my grinder at home is a different type of grinder, and it's bigger than this one. So the mechanics here are a little different. It made no difference. It made no difference. Now I want to show you one other while we're still going here. I'm going to leave the grinder on simply because it's quieter. For detail gouges, there's a change. I project it through 2 3/4 inches. 2 3/4 inches. So in essence what I'm going to do now is just extend the tool. In this case I'm coming up off the flat a little bit. So I'll make sure it's nice and square. And this is regrinding it now. 2 3/4 inches is going to give us a detail gouge, much higher up on the wheel. Different angle altogether, so it's going to take a little grinding to change this. So we've gone from a standard spindle gouge, shallow fluted gouge, to a detail gouge. And I know there's a grinding in there. We shortened that a little bit so you didn't have to watch me grind away a lot of metal. But basically this shape is much more severe in terms of the angle, and this becomes a shallow fluted gouge but for detail work. The difference is only changing from a 2-inch projection to a 2 3/4 inch projection. So shallow fluted gouge, detail gouge with that setting. Now, why am I telling you about this? It's almost identical to the settings I use, and so I'm happy that the selection of angles and so on is as we can use. Okay, let's go on to the next tool. The standard bowl gouge. Again, his shape and angles are very close to what I use. I'm going to put this one away, and I'm going to pick up the one I have set for the bowl gouge. Different unit, it could be the same one, but if I look at setting for the bowl gouge, I have a different fixture. It says bowl gouge. 5th notch. One, show it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, back of the 5th notch. Now we have to reset the wheel. It's very slightly different in setting. So I put the device into the holder. Set the distance. So the arm length has been set. This has been set to the 5th notch, that's fine. And the last thing to do is to take my bowl gouge, put it here and set it for a 2-inch projection, which is standard. This is my 2-inch block. I guess pretty close, but not close enough. Here's 2 inches. And now to grind the bowl gouge, it's precisely the same technique. And this is done like we always do, left side, right side, and not too much time spent at the tip, only because there's less physical metal there and we could grind too much away too quickly. So here we go, same process. So I haven't ground all the way back, but I've created the new profile on this tool. The tip and the bevel angle, I haven't done this area down in here, it's not important. But that is the bowl gouge ground, just like that. Now that's all nice. We've redone the spindle gouge, the detail gouge, the bowl gouge. But there is a grind that has always been done by hand, and Ron has come out with a fixture to allow us to do what is called the 40-40 grind, the one that Stuart Batty has been promoting. And most of his proponents who use that 40-40 grind have been able to do it by hand on a platform. But for many of us, a fixture makes it much more repeatable. So let me show you how to do a 40-40 grind, and Ron has created a fixture for us to be able to use. And the 40-40 grind fixture looks just like the other ones, but it's very specialized for this one tool. Let me show you the difference. Here's our traditional grind. You can see it in the photograph. Here is that 40-40 grind. Now what does it make it 40? It means that this angle on the bevel is 40 degrees from horizontal, and the flutes are 40 degrees from horizontal. And it is a uniquely different grind. It looks a lot like a shallow fluted gouge, but on a bowl shape. So let me show you how to do that. First of all, it's a different fixture. So I'm going to take my fixture and I'm going to set it the way he says. First of all, he says, let me lay these things down here, that I want to set this on the first notch. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to find notch number 1, way up there like that, and lock it down. Now if this tool had a handle on it, this being such a severe setup, it may actually run into the base. So he's provided us with a little accessory that helps us raise that just a little bit. And it's just a little block to set in here. So I've set it to the right notch. I'm going to set the length fixture in here, just like I did on the other ones. Set it in the notch, and I'm going to now set the angle, and just like that. Now the other thing we have to do, let's be sure I did it right. Yeah, I got it right. I'm going to take this out, and the projection, it says, instead of being 2 inches, needs to be 3 inches. So I'm going to put the tool in. I'm going to lock it down at 3 inches projection. Make sure it's square and tight, tight. And so this is going to give us the 40-40 grind. And the grinding process is exactly the same. Didn't take very long because I already had shaped it to the 40-40 grind. And there you can see 40-40 grind, classic bowl gouge grind. It's important that we have a new accessory on the market that allows us to be able to do this 40-40 grind without having to learn hand sharpening techniques. So I thought that was something that I'd like to share with you. Ron has a number of other accessories which he's also introduced to, and I thought I'd show them to you very quickly just because I purchased them all at the same time. He has a device that looks like this, which is very difficult to figure out what it is, but let me show you. This is for setting the platform on your grinder. And for a skew chisel, the platform is set there. That gives you a 22.5 degree on each side. Now if that's the grind that you want to use, great. For bowl scrapers, the platform set there because he says only an 8 degree. Now if you will use other angles, that's fine, but if you want an 8 degree back angle on your scrapers, if you want a 30-60 degree parting angle on your parting tool, 22.5 on your skew, and so on. These are a way to set those. I don't use some of those angles, but if you do, this would be a terrific accessory. Very inexpensive, something you probably could make. He has one other device, which I find very useful. Let's say that I have my own settings, and the arm for mine is about like that, whatever. But I want to repeat that when I'm at your place. So I don't know how to do that other than use this little device he's created. It has an arbitrary scale on it and 2 rollers. You set it in the back pocket, you bring it up until it touches the wheel, lock it. Now I can use this in your V-arm to set to this exact number, which turns out to be 3 on this particular scale, and that would readjust that arm length for your grinder to allow me to do whatever it is I want to do. Just another interesting accessory. Some of these things are kind of hard to understand until you've seen a video on how to use it. Into the pocket, onto the face of the wheel, lock it down, and I have a reading that I can easily reproduce on any grinder. I just wanted you to see some of those accessories that could be helpful in improving and repeating your sharpening. A little different than what we did in our original things. I did have a couple other things that I have done. We use the RoboRest a great deal in our classroom, and I do also at home, so that these numbers, when I pull this pin out, I can rotate this forward and backward to different settings. And I have a chart that says for skew chisels, I have it on number 4. Well, let me read what my little chart says here, because I wrote it down, because otherwise I won't remember. For the skew chisel, I set it to hole number 4. For the spindle roughing gouge, I set it to number 7. And for my 15-degree angle on my scrapers, I set it to hole number 8. It's a little different than Ron's setting, but a repeatable way of coming back to different positions. So just a few ideas for you to consider and think about. I hope these are helpful in you finding a way to keep your tools sharp and repeatable. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.